yeah, we're back here with Logan. He's come out from Beretta. He's been the product manager over the shotguns for how many years now?
Yeah, a couple of years over there at Beretta, and before that, Trijicon. So been in the industry a little while, kind of bringing all the new pieces full scale and putting them onto the platform we've got here in front of us.
Absolutely. So we're trying to, take all that new technology, put it all in one spot, and then not just talk about it, but take it to the field and put it into use, right?
Yeah, into practice.
We've spent the last 2 days out duck hunting and goose hunting with a team of 7 individuals with red dots, actually one without, and just shooting them, right? Put them in the use and seeing the pros, cons, anything that would come up. And really kind of where we're at. We had you on the other day. We talked a little bit about all that, and you can look at that episode that we did specifically on the hunt. And now we're kind of more into the effects of a choke on a shotgun, and now with integrating that into the suppressor to make sure we don't lose that innovation that came out, you said in the 70s?
Yeah, it's interchangeable choke tubes, a couple different systems started in the 70s and have kind of rolled out through the shotgun industry. And yeah, now we've got the step forward in that, hey, we're going to suppress a shotgun. You still get your choke tube capability. Now let's talk about what this does to your pattern, what this does to your accuracy, what this does to your reliability of your shotgun, and how shotgun manufacturers are going to respond to suppressor companies, and then pairing that with red dots is kind of the future progression of the shotgun platform, which is so exciting.
Yeah, and we're really where we were at, you see the natural progression in, let's say, the AR world with adding a suppressor and the effects it had on the system immediately. A lot of gain in sound suppression, but a lot of issues with cycling and, overgassing, maybe even undergassing.
Accuracy changes as well, changes in zero, potentially.
Major effects. And so we had to learn that process and go through it as an industry, and now you're seeing pretty much the standard is a high flow suppressor if you're going to put it on a auto cycling type weapon,
Yep.
And so when we developed the shotgun suppressor, we didn't want to relearn all that. So ours was high flow from day one. It has multiple ports in it. It's made to be low back pressure. And so when we put them in the field, we sent some out to Beretta. It's been 2 years ago, I think now, right?
Yeah, and we've run them through the full set of testing. We've used them a lot in R&D for all the reasons you would on a rifle can, right? Cuts down the noise, cuts down the recoil. And just as you said, it does not seem to affect the reliability of shotguns. In fact, if anything, it improves them. You don't get the back pressure. You don't get the overgassing. You can take your shotgun you've got at home, add one of these suppressors to it, and you're not going to affect the accuracy and reliability, which I think that's a testament to the technology and the lessons learned you guys already had from the rifle can world and rolling it back into the shotgun can world. You got it right. The systems are ready to go out the gate. You don't have to just gas porting or valving. No, you don't have to change your ammo. It's just ready to go.
Yeah, and I really feel like I'm grateful that the shotgun companies built them the way they have, because we're 2 years in now, and we, not just Beretta, we've sent these all over the country on all different shotguns, and it just seems to run, right? All of them run, or like you said, maybe in those instances where you have a light load and maybe a dirty gun and it's cold, it maybe in some instances it's even bringing up that reliability slightly.
Yep. Yeah, and it doesn't seem to affect the dirtiness either. So after that first year that you had sent us cans, we took it to SHOT Show that next year at our range day, running it as we launched the 1301 Tacticals. We had 2 cans on 2 different guns, and between those 2, they were fired over 3,000 rounds, both guns, flawlessly. No problems, no issues, no fouling, no dirtiness. Everyone loved it, having a great time, ear safe, and it just runs.
Yeah, so, and I'll say for consumer, if you're looking for a good, reliable weapon, go to a show and see the ones that make it, because they get abused, right?
Yeah, badly.
All day. They don't get cool down time. They're going to be... It's worst case scenario.
Yeah, right? It is. Yeah.
If something can survive that, it can survive daily use.
Yeah, exactly. We put as many rounds through that gun in a single day as that gun will probably see in its lifetime.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Without cleaning it, without maintaining it, getting it hot, getting it cold, just going.
Just getting after it. Yeah. We call it the Disneyland ride, right? There's a whole row of people just ready to go. And
yep.
no downtime, and they just get worked.
Yep, they sure do.
Yeah. So we were kind of talking earlier about how we did the different end caps and how we marked them, right? So keep people with just the current standard on how people mark chokes, so you know what you're using. And you were saying more dots means less constriction.
Correct. A larger pattern, more dots, larger pattern. So it's the little notch that Brett has been adding to the choke tube for forever. You've used the same nomenclature here. So 1 dot is a full choke, 3 dots modified, 4 dots improved cylinder. And so to help customers understand the contricity and how much effect that'll have on your shot string. And they work really well. So we were out back at your facility here, zeroing, checking the pattern with this gun yesterday, and it worked great, right? We stepped off 30 yards, drew our 30-inch circle,
Yep.
shot the pattern was great, stepped it back to 50, did it again, and got the results that we were expecting. Kind of a funny story where that 30-inch circle at 30 yards came from. It's kind of an interesting shotgun lore that not a lot of people know. It comes from the original American trap shooting, where there was literally a stick with a box, and inside the box was a bird. That was the original trap. Then a trapper would pull a string and release the bird, and then a guy standing back would shoot that bird. That was original American trap.
30 yards away.
Well, the bird would take off and start to fly away because the box was directional.
Oh, it's a directional box.
And
So
so
they kind of control where it's going to
Yep.
go. Yeah.
And so where the average shooter would take a shot was about 30 yards. So today in American trap, modern clay trap, you stand on the 16-yard line. The trap is a yard long, and then where the average person takes their shot is about 30 yards.
So that's really the sweet spot you need to operate in.
So a modified choke, which is what most shotguns were originally designed to be, was for shooting a trap target at 30 yards, and you wanted your pattern about 30 inches to hit that flying target with no holes in it, no pattern holes. And that was kind of the original spec. And then shotgun companies and shotgun manufacturers have kind of played with that pattern on both ends of the spectrum, tighter or fuller or
Yeah, as
longer
we get
chokes,
into
tighter
turkeys,
chokes.
right? They're making these
Right.
70-yard shots now, right? It can be common. Is
Yeah.
that
Oh, yeah.
correct?
With stacked tungsten steel shot, and trying to stretch the capabilities of that shotgun platform.
So they're asking for full plus, right? What do you got
Correct.
that's even more than full? Is kind of
Yep.
We've made our full one, and we get that. Would you have one that's tighter?
I know.
And so,
Right.
but they're stretching it, and they clear to the other end. They're shooting
They want the most open they can get.
a dove at 10 yards. They don't
Right.
want to blow
Correct.
it to smithereens.
You get your decoying chokes and you get your passing shot chokes. And that's where I think your next step in your evolution to the end caps is so cool that we were talking about earlier. The ability to, hey, I want my end cap, but I also want to use aftermarket chokes. So
Yeah.
what you were showing us earlier is so cool.
Yeah, and this is our introduction to that. This is our first one that we ever built, and it currently takes the AccuChoke system, and the reason we went with AccuChoke is really because of length. In the can, there's only so much space before the next baffle, so to integrate it into current product and past product, we didn't want to put something out that wasn't backwards compatible. So the AccuChoke, just by its nature, is very short.
Yeah, it's perfect.
So we picked the AccuChoke, but what it allows for, we have this one. It's the Cremator. It's a mid-range one that a lot of people like. You could even put that in the end cap and get the pattern, the exact pattern that you're really after. Or you may have had all these chokes around and you can repurpose them now at this point.
Yep.
So
And that was really helpful, and especially in something that we get asked all the time is, hey, how do you zero an optic onto a shotgun, and do you see any point of aim, point of impact shift when you add a can? So like you can see with a rifle, you zero without a can, then you add your can on, right? It's literally drooping your barrel. It's changing your point of aim, point of impact. We don't see that with a shotgun.
no,
which is
I
so
was
cool.
kind of curious yesterday. So you did that. Your point aim, point of impact was right where you wanted it.
right where you expected. And then zeroing the red dot to a shotgun is just like you would any other optic. You mount it up properly. You more or less co-line the dot with the top of the bead, and then you go out to a vertical bank or a patterning board, ideally. Hold on a center point, pull the trigger. If your pattern's high, low, left, right, you simply adjust the elevation and the windage like you would any other red dot. Fire again, and there you go. You're done.
I really liked that yesterday. I felt like, it was quick battle sight zero, co-locate. We called it lollipop back in the day.
Same principle.
Put it over it. You know you're going to be close. Fire it. See what happens. Really cool because it's kind of like old fixed sights on a pistol. It's very similar on a shotgun. You don't get to move them really, right?
Right.
But yesterday it actually was a little bit up and to the left, slightly, right? Not a big shift, but maybe 10% off, right?
Yeah.
Now you're able to get it 100% on. You can get that last 10% back and adjust it perfectly into the center.
And for what your game you're going after, right? So if you're shooting doves over a water tank and you want to shoot an open pattern, you can use an open pattern. You can have a very close zero, right? You can zero it for 25. Or if you know you're going to go pass shoot geese tomorrow and you know you're going to be taking shots at 50 or 60 yards, guess what? Go zero it for 50 or 60 yards. Now you know your dot's going to be on to where your pattern is going to be.
That's a really big deal. I feel like, just having that, we use our blade, we use a sight, but it's just a reference point. We're still, it's kind of like the old scopes that there's just a basic reticle,
right.
And then anything off that we're guessing. We're out into the glass all of a sudden. We're doing that with shotguns.
You are.
The guys that are really good that have that muscle memory can make that happen, right? Same with the old scope
Correct.
guys. But if you're not doing it all the time, you're guessing. You're taking an accurate shot at the last second. You're putting guess into it. And with that, you can actually zero it. And if you're not out shooting all the time, you can still make that shot.
Correct. And you can still center the pattern. So guys also forget that when taking that long shot, your shot is falling by gravity, just like a rifle. Okay, well, you can account for that. Now, it's not a lot. We're talking 4 to 5 inches of difference, but that is enough to
make
affect your shot.
Right?
Correct.
Yeah, or not a good kill. Or...
Right, you got it. You're not taking an ethical shot. Now you can take a 60-yard ethical shot because you know where your shot string is. You know the weapon is zeroed. You know what your lead is, that distance, because you can measure it with a red dot. Now you've changed the game.
Yeah, I really think, after I've said this on the other podcast the other day, but I'll say it again. After shooting with the red dot in that configuration, I'm not going back. So we're going to get the mill out in the shop going and modify all of our shotguns to do the cut like you did. That's factory now, right?
This is the factory one that we're adding to the A300 lines made here in the U.S. But modifying it and cutting in the back of your existing shotgun receiver is no different than taking your stock Glock, sending it out, having it cut for an optics footprint. The gun is capable. There's plenty of meat back here. You just tap it with the screws and away you go.
Yeah, I really like it. And I like how it's set down low. I didn't feel like there was a big rise in it, or it just was very effective.
You still
it
get
felt very natural, right? It wasn't a big shift like I thought it might have been. It just I felt right at home with it. So
yeah, it's fantastic.
So getting that zeroing in, getting your, this is really, I always said it almost felt very natural, very like, how come no one thought of this when we did the shotgun can? The last thing that touches the wad is the choke. So when we got it, I'm like, well, when it comes out, that's what matters.
Yep.
Right? That last little bit is what's going to change the pattern. And when we did this, it just worked. There wasn't a lot of development in it. When we picked these sizes, these are standard, ID sizes for chokes. Yep. There's no magic. It hadn't really happened. It just didn't go into full effect. And these really work great, as you've seen. We don't really have any issues with the current one. We just were getting requests of more. This just gets you into all these different ones. This is a Mueller, and they've done some really cool things. And when I look at this from an outsider looking in, I think of like a mobile. The length of a choke matters too.
It does. Feel like, especially James Mueller, the guy who developed those, is kind of a leader in that choke tube space and understanding what a shotgun pattern is doing. And so I use for competitive shooting his chokes as well for that reason, that he kind of thinks deeply about chokes the way you think about suppressors and I think about shotguns. And so working with those sorts of guys advances the platform for everyone.
Absolutely. And his naming convention, he done some different things, so I'm still learning there. One of the ones that we might add additionally to these just to make it easier. I think it was Carlson. They're putting short range, mid range, long range, just MR, LR.
Yep.
It really, because sometimes like, well, what's the dots mean? And
You got to look it up if you're not familiar.
Yeah, if you're not seasoned in it. So I think we may actually add that to this as well. But again, now this will be in addition. So that guy that really wants to take it even further, maybe shoots competitively or wants all that he can get out of it, this will be a good option for him.
Or those turkey choke guys, right? They want to run a short barrel, suppress it, but then they want their super long beard extra full. They can buy the choke of their choice, drop it in there, and away they go.
Yeah, and it's really been amazing to watch that. I will say, when we do our pattern testing, shooting through the can, we're basically using multiple forcing cones. Every time it hits that baffle, it's reforcing it back down and reforcing it back down. And our specs are basically identical to the standard out there. And I know the standard's got a little wiggle room left and right. But we tried to standardize those sizes. But I'd say in general, we lean to being a little tighter pattern.
Yeah, our tests seem to show that. But it was a consistent pattern. That's what's important. Yeah. So, and that's why patterning it for your gun, your load matters, right? So the chart you put out is based around lead shot, a target load.
On one gun,
You got it, load. But if I change different manufacturers, if I change shot sizes, shot material, that's going to affect your density and your ballistic performance. It's a good idea to go zero that again. Check your consistency. Make sure you're using the right choke, the right load for what you want to accomplish.
And I really feel like if there was any gun that never got sighted in, it was the shotgun, right? Guys just grab it and go. They didn't check pattern. They didn't check anything. They just, and you can get it done most of the time. But, I'd say in today's society, time's our most precious asset, right? We're fathers and running business, working places, going here, going there. If you're going to spend that time to go out and go shoot some ducks, spend the time beforehand and go pattern test and sight your optic in. And I'll just say this: if you do it when you go out, you're gonna get more kills. You're gonna get more hits, and you're gonna feel really good about it because there's just more to it than there ever was before, and you're able to accomplish that.
Especially if you're shooting expensive Boss ammunition, or if you're shooting bismuth or tungsten, $3 or $4 a round. You don't want to miss.
No.
This helps you not miss and not blow your eardrums out.
Yeah, very, very true. So we get into that side. The whole other side is this slug game, right? Slug and even buckshot. I mean, that's a huge deal. And I know, people have been mounting for that, but the way you did this and I feel like most of those turkey type optics and even slug type optics were traditionally higher, right? They're trying to put on a full size red dot.
Yeah, you're putting a piece of rail and then an optic, and then your head's off the cone.
You're off there, and now you're shooting a high recoil load with no cheek contact. It gets a little Western, right?
It does very quickly.
Yeah, and this just didn't change any of that. I was still right where I needed to be, so I could see slug use. Even in turkey, I would go with this short option. I really like that. So.
Stay tight, stay compact.
Yep. Well, I think that's all we got to go over. Again, thanks for making the journey from Tennessee. We really appreciate you coming out.
It's been a pleasure. It's been a great hunt. So thanks for having us out.
Yeah, we'll be hunting again in the future, I'm sure.
Thanks, man.
Appreciate you.